One of the most universal lessons we learned early in life was that if it's too good to be true, then it probably is. It kind of falls in the same category as nothing in life is free. And yet here we are, nearly 2 years removed from reality, still with hope that somewhere in these weird times we might be fortunate enough to at least see a glimmer of hope. But as each day passes, it seems that progress forward is not in the direction that we as a people are hopeful for. Regardless on where you stand on the issue, the fact of the matter is this: new laws put into establishment across the world is not liberating us, but rather binding us further into despair. Whether you are for or against lockdowns, masks, or vaccines, the truth stands. You are less free now than you were years ago. And for some of you out there, you are less free now than you were just last week. But this is a plan to defeat the virus. This is all for the virus. We must all play our part in order for us to get through this together. So we must do what we are told. Stop pushing false information, and we'll all get through this.
Randy Kay joins us now. Randy, given the surge in patients, given that we're not okay, as these healthcare workers are saying, does this hospital have what it needs? Does it have enough ventilators?
Well, John, they have dipped into their hurricane supply of ventilators. Those are the ventilators that they would have put aside for a major storm. So they are using those. They're also using these refrigerated mobile units as morgues. So they need those as well. And funeral homes also, John, in this area are feeling the impact. We spoke to the funeral director at Wilson Funeral Home here in Tampa. And he told me that not only has he buried friends of his, but he's also running out of caskets. He's now ordering multiple caskets a day. He's had to move the hearses out of the garage to make room for more caskets inside that funeral home. And he also told me he's having trouble scheduling funerals because the cemeteries are so busy. He can't even get a funeral scheduled on the books. So I will just tell you that being in that ICU, for anyone who thinks that, that we shouldn't be wearing masks or we might not need to get a vaccine, they should spend a day with those healthcare workers, walking in that ICU, walking in their shoes. They could change a mind, John.
Yeah, indeed. And a bull market for funerals. What a tragedy that is. Randy Kay, thank you so much.
One thing that I can't seem to shake was how perfectly timed this vaccine rollout came into play. Now hear me out now. Vaccines became available pretty swiftly. Things that normally would take about a decade to be approved by the FDA and available to the public seemingly skipped the traditional FDA approval for the emergency permission, all within months.
This is in the category of give me a bleeping break. When did everyone get a medical degree?
Dr. Solomon, you hit on something really critical, because one has to look at what are the reasons people don't want to get vaccinated.
We don't know what the long-term side effects are.
If the reason is they believe that the process was either opaque or slippery, namely some political person is going to want to get a vaccine out quickly or what have you, what decision is made behind closed doors? Is this really safe? It's so quick. What do you mean it's so fast? You told me 5 years ago that it takes years to get a vaccine, and now you're telling me you have a safe and efficacious vaccine.
We don't know what the long-term side effects are.
Within less than a year. What's going on here? So what we need to do is, in a very clear, understandable way, explain, and I try to do this as often as I possibly can, to the general public, that the speed itself is a reflection of scientific advances. In other words, the technology of making a vaccine is not your grandfather's technology. It's the 21st century technology. It's taking a virus that you don't even have to grow up or purify. You just need the genetic sequence. You pull the gene out, you stick it into a vaccine platform, and literally within days, you're making a vaccine.
We don't know what the long-term side effects are.
Already, you saved maybe a year there. Then you get that technology and you quickly develop it because that technology isn't the kind that requires growing of the virus. You save another multiple months. Now you're in a phase 1 trial. So that speed, people hear speed and they say, wow, that's compromising safety.
We don't know what the long-term side effects are.
It has nothing to do with safety yet because you haven't even put it into a person.
Show of hands, how many of you have gotten a COVID vaccine? These are 4 healthcare workers from different hospitals in North Carolina.
Why not?
We don't know what the long-term side effects are.
When did everyone get a medical degree?
Now, this vaccine is not like the typical vaccines we were exposed to as a child. This one's unique, a major feat in the scientific community, all again within months. Let's keep in mind the average time for any drug or product under the FDA administration is typically ranging around 10 years. Now, we've all been in a situation where we ordered a product online and the time frame is probably within a range that we don't find acceptable. So then how would you feel if that product was just to show up to your door in a matter of seconds? Wouldn't you just be a little bit suspicious about the occasion? But let's just get off the speed of it all for just a moment and focus on the timing. It goes without question that we are a generation that has become quite impatient. We lose interest of things relatively fast. It's not by chance that the biggest social media in existence display content in short time-constricted segments. So with that thought, how long do you think our compliance with mask mandates and lockdowns would have lasted if it breached just past 15 days? Exhaustion was becoming apparent. Voices were beginning to be heard. And seemingly just like that, right when we were beginning to value our financial and mental well-being a bit more, the vaccines come to save the day.
The world's biggest retailer joining the fight against COVID, Walmart prepping more than 5,000 of its store pharmacies to administer the vaccine all across the country. Walmart's one of the many companies, along with CVS and Walgreens, that will vaccinate millions of Americans. They have stores everywhere and, we're told, the necessary freezer.
Whether you agree with the vaccines or not, this boosted our confidence. We got enough surge of hope. It, for that instance, seemed that the light at the end of the tunnel could finally be reached. But more information about the vaccines began to come out, and people began to have questions. These questions were given answers that led more to be a bit skeptical. That's where I fall in, because when someone answers a legitimate concern regarding the efficacy with,
"The best vaccine is the first one you can get into your arm."
And Kristen, the bottom line is take the one that's available. I say the best shot to get is the first one you can get.
The best vaccine available is the one that's right in front of you that you can get today. Roll up your sleeve and get it.
That's when I knew it was my cue to dig a bit further. You're not going to violate one of the very first lessons I've learned in life. If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
President Biden signing a new executive order, which requires vaccination for federal employees and contractors who do business with the federal government.
So here we are now, and Biden has made an executive decision for all businesses within 100 or more employees to force them to be vaccinated or weekly screenings. This is a very powerful move on his part. After nearly wiping out all small businesses, the only ones that are left are those that contain 100 plus employees. So now you are requiring them to get the jab? Never mind that Pelosi said in a press conference back in April that they can't require someone to be vaccinated. That would just be, quote, not what we do.
So here's the thing. We cannot require someone to be vaccinated. That's just not what we can do. It is a matter of privacy to know who is or who isn't. I can't go to the Capitol physician and say, give me the names of people who aren't vaccinated so I can go encourage them to be, or make it known to others to encourage them to be vaccinated. So we can't do that.
Great play, I must say, though. Well, at least we all are in this together now. Wait, no? Members of Congress and their staff are exempted? The very fact that he even brought up the exemption would then deem it safe enough to assume that there are members in Congress who are not vaccinated. So why have they decided not to get the jab? Or is it out of my civil rights to even question that? We all, less fortunate, can go at it like rabid dogs. But for those who are in power, who choose not to get vaccinated, that's quite okay. The one thing that this pandemic has expanded my knowledge on would have to be the freedom of speech. We here in the United States hear it so often that it has basically become a meme, which I think is very unfortunate because it is much more than simply saying what you want to say. Because if you think about it, having the ability to speak your thoughts, ideas, whether popular or not, leads to discussion. Discussions lead to deeper understandings of alternative views, which in whole expands knowledge, leading towards enlightenment. Enlightenment that can serve as a catalyst to demand change. The very fabric of historic events started with 2 or more people simply talking. Our very country became into existence because of such speech we so often throw around liberally. Now I see it being taken away and classified as false information, forever snuffed off social media and news venues. Basically, our last outlet towards the outside world. But what I know, these are just simply my thoughts. But if you guys agree or disagree, please comment below. Use your ability to voice your opinion and be heard. Whether you stand for the vaccines, mask mandates, or lockdowns, or whether you're not, I believe at the end of the day that discussion is key, and that's what's going to ultimately get us to the light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you for listening, and if you guys are interested in wanting to hear more from me, I will be posting more videos weekly, so please subscribe.
When did everyone get a medical degree?